But as I was watching you just kind of rock this, I'm thinking, darn it, Ruthie can do this. I can do this. And I realized after talking with you that what was missing was that there was no strategy. I was trying things and dropping things and, let's try this for a little bit. Let's try for that a little bit, and not really following through on anything. And that's not a strategy. And anything, if I want a business to grow, if I really want to reach the people I want to reach, you have to put some intentionality to it.
Hey there, it's Ruthie from RuthieGray.mom, and welcome to Instagram Insider Hacks. So easy, your mom can do it. This is the podcast that teaches you how to authentically deliver your message in a non-pushy way. If you want to receive engagement and investment on your Insta time, listen in. And now, here's your host, me, Ruthie Gray. After almost 25 years of home educating her 5 children, Pat Fenner is making the most of her retired homeschool mom status. She encourages and inspires others as they continue the journey through the high school years at her blog, BreakthroughHomeschooling, and helps moms find meaning and purpose in the post-homeschooling stage of life through the Empty Homeschool Nest Blueprint program and podcast. And Pat and I have known each other several years. She's such a gracious friend. Welcome, my friend and homeschool mentor mom, Pat Fenner.
Oh, Ruthie, you are so sweet. I am so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
You are welcome. I am so honored you're here. And these are called Insta Transformations, interviews featuring pro coaching members. And Pat is from Breakthrough Homeschooling on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And these interview episodes highlight pro coaching members sharing their personal triumphs and how they made Instagram work for them. So Pat and I are going to chat a little bit about her Instagram before she had really a strategy. So let's talk about that first, Pat.
Yeah. Well, before, I was around for, I guess, when Instagram was just kind of getting started. I've been blogging for a long time. But my people were on Facebook. And so that's where I kind of focused on Facebook. And then I started noticing that, me being the retired homeschool mom that I am, that there's a younger generation of homeschool moms coming up. And they're on Instagram, and as are my grandchild. That's still a little hard to say, even though I love it, but it makes me feel a little old, but that's okay. I'm working through that. So I just started getting on Instagram primarily to follow my granddaughter and see her stuff. Then realized that, wow, there's a huge homeschool group on here, and maybe I should start, connecting with them. So there were a lot of starts and struggles. I mean, even with you, Ruthie, because you've been doing this now for a while, and I've seen you grow into this, Instagram training. And there's been a lot of starts and struggles before you and in the beginning. And it just wasn't clicking. I don't know. It just wasn't clicking. So, and then, I would pick up a freebie here of Instagram and brought different tools, like the planning tool to make things pretty, but nothing worked together. And that was me. That's operator error. That wasn't like the stuff that I was doing. But then I realized, but as I was watching you just kind of rock this, I'm thinking, darn it, Ruthie can do this. I can do this. And I realized after talking with you that what was missing was that there was no strategy. I was trying things and dropping things and, let's try this for a little bit. Let's try for that a little bit, and not really following through on anything. And that's not a strategy. And anything, if I want a business to grow, if I really want to reach the people I want to reach, you have to put some intentionality to it. So that's what it was kind of like before, just throwing things out.
Throwing things out. That is, I think that's what a lot of us do. I know I did that. And you obviously have to start somewhere. But then after a while, you realize, this isn't really connecting, or there's something not happening. And, I think part of it is when we realize that we can't just throw something up and people will come. Like, if you build it, they will come. That's not how it works on Instagram, is it?
Is it anywhere, honestly, except for that movie? You have to throw it at, especially though, the internet today, it's so loud. There's so many voices that you can't, if you just build it, nobody's going to know about it. So I think the struggle I was finding was trying to be authentic and trying to be just me, and realizing that I had something to offer, but I had to tell people that, just because I was being me doesn't mean people would say, oh, I'll bet she could help me with such and such. Like, no, you got to tell them that. And then you've got to ask them and say, are you struggling with that? Do you want me to help you with such and such? And engage them that way. And I wasn't doing any of that. I was just like, oh, I'm being me, hearts and flowers, and this is Pat, like nobody cares what I had for breakfast, okay? I mean, unless it's part of your strategy of, let me give you a peek into my life, and this is what I had for breakfast. But did you know that I can also help you with XYZ?
There has to be a balance. And like I was talking in my interview with Melanie Red, where she learned that it was okay to be transparent and share herself. I don't think you and I really have ever had the problem with sharing ourselves. And from what I'm hearing you say is, I think you didn't have a problem sharing yourself. It was actually you had a problem sharing your message, letting people know. And that's important too. You have to talk about your message and what you offer, because it's valuable. Obviously it is, or you wouldn't be sharing your message, right?
Right. Yep. Well, I come from, and you, I guess, you and I are peers, not to give anybody's age away, but we come from the time when, salesy was frankly sleazy. It was the infomercial age, and just buy this, it'll solve everything. And that's not what we want. So we're now living in the age of, storytelling. You've got the story brand, things like that. There are people who tell stories, and people kind of talk about themselves, not to make it about them, but to make themselves relatable, because we know that people don't buy products, they buy, from people. And so we've got to kind of balance that with being ourselves, but still having, if you're going to have a business, you have to ask people to engage with your business, right? But you don't want to be sleazy about it. So for me, it's all that kind of, like you said, getting that balance and finding a balance that's comfortable for me so that I'm authentic, but also comfortable for my people, for my, they need to hear that message. So
along those lines then, why don't you describe the breakthrough that you had and the direction maybe that you took after you realized that you really did have to share your message? What were some of the things you learned and started implementing?
Well, actually, interestingly enough, for Instagram, my breakthrough in terms of realizing I had to be intentional about this was I looked back, this was a while ago, at my analytics, and I realized that Instagram was actually one of my top 10 refers back to my blog. And I'm still a writer at heart, so I will probably always blog, even though, I am getting more video related and, with the podcast and everything. It's all going to lead back to my blog. It's kind of like my baby. But I realized that it was hey, this is a thing, I need to take Instagram seriously. So I had to get over seeing myself. And I took it was a free challenge on doing video. And it was primarily Facebook at the time, just to get yourself comfortable seeing your face, recording things. So once I got over that hassle, because I realized Instagram was really leading people to my message, to where I was writing and where I was sharing. And I became comfortable with video. It's like, okay, I need to put these two together. And Instagram is perfect. Instagram is where I need to, to be live, to engage with people. I mean, Facebook, I'm not quite ready to throw that, that baby out with the bathwater. But I realized that Instagram was really where I need to be headed. And I need to take it seriously and learn, develop a strategy with it.
And I don't think that anyone here is trying to get you off of Facebook. And that is certainly not my message either. So, because I think that there are all different pieces of the puzzle, really: social media, Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. But I find it interesting that Instagram was one of your top 10 refers to your blog. So tell me, how did you come to that conclusion? How did you figure that out through your analytics?
I had a link that I did, a pretty link. So it was a specific link that I have in my link in bio, in my Instagram thing. And that consistently was coming up as one of my top 10. So I was able to, create something that was trackable, a link that was trackable for me. And I could find that in my analytics. And it was like, you can't really ignore this, anymore.
Yes. And so what kind of resources did you find the people were really wanting to access, that they were clicking on in your link in bio? What kind of resources were you offering?
Well, it was interesting because it was I call it a homeschool mom's resume toolkit. And even though my blog is primarily to support homeschool moms as they are homeschooling high school, a lot of moms, when they get to that stage, they start thinking about, oh no, this is almost over, or there's going to be an end to this someday. What am I going to do next? Because, I mean, you've homeschooled for a while too, and we just tend to pour everything into that. Which is good, but the downside of that is we forget that we're in that mix and we're not taking care of ourselves necessarily. We're not necessarily planning for life after homeschooling. And so this kit that I put together was kind of to help moms keep track of the things that they do as homeschool moms that they can then translate to a resume to prepare themselves for their post-homeschool life and what they're going to do and whatever direction they're going to take. So, and that's what kind of helped me to pivot a little bit to include that, dealing with moms who are trying to figure out what they're doing after homeschooling is over.
I think it's so important to figure out who your target audience is. And a lot of times, I know you and I we've both pivoted over the years as we've aged a little bit, matured, maybe I could say that. And, they say that oftentimes your audience is just a couple years younger than you. And I've found that to be true myself. And I think that is definitely the direction that you have gone to. And you cannot argue with the fact when people are clicking on that link in bio for that resource, you can't argue with it. So I think that is gold that you were able to narrow that down and find something that really resonated. So why don't you share with us, Pat, some things that are working for you on Instagram, other than we know that your avatar is clicking on that link in bio. What are some other things that you can share with us that have that you've learned that really work well for you?
Well, I have to say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, and I'm so excited about doing lives and doing interviews. I feel like I can't say that I'm like totally over the hump, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror because there's a lot to learn still. But I took your crash course, your challenge, and actually jumped in. I guess it was a couple of weeks. Well, it was back in May, which was Mental Health Month. And God was just leading me to a lot of people that were dealing with that. And I realized that He's got a lot to say for parents, to help teens have healthy mental health, good mental health. And so I started jumping in with interviews. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was like, would you join me on an Instagram interview, next week or whatever? And people, they were like, yeah. So I started just doing it and made mistakes and everything, but it was so much fun. And it just opened up such conversation. And I think just that live aspect really appealed. And I know that because it's video related and everything video right now is just hot.
Yeah. And I think that women our age have trouble giving themselves and giving grace to just go live and to put ourselves out there, because we might not have all the words and we're not as tech savvy as our children are. So, these things come with time, but they also come with repetition. Don't you think? The more we do it, the better we'll be. But it takes consistency and you don't quit. Keep doing it.
Try it from a different aspect. To directly relate it to homeschooling. If, for example, we had trouble with math, well, let's try a different curriculum. Let's look at it from a different angle. I told my kids this all my life and all their lives. And I found myself, at one point, I did find myself just thinking, you know what, this is just too dang hard. I don't know what I'm doing. Everybody else seems to be doing it better than me. I've got this thing on my neck that I'm not comfortable with. I don't like the sound of my voice. You can go on and on and on. I'm sure you've been through it. And I know some of your listeners have as well. And there's so many opportunities to just quit. But I almost feel like I've got to overcome that. If for no other reason, then I want to make my kids proud. If that is, I don't know what that sounds like to whatever, but I just have been invested in being a parent, a mom, a homeschooler for so many years that besides letting God down, I feel if God's put a message on my heart, who am I to just quit that easily? I've encouraged my kids to do so much more for so much less, just to get through academics and stuff that I can't. It's wrong. So
yeah. I agree with you. And we get out there and we start blogging. And by the way, you guys, Pat is a fantastic writer. She is very eloquent and her words are fantastic. So be sure to check out her blog too. But so we do that and we get on social media, but I think then all of a sudden we second guess ourselves and think, oh, wait, people are actually going to see me. And maybe I shouldn't do this. And honestly, if you feel like if you are in that space, you've already felt led of God to be there. And so backing off really, it's being scared is no excuse, is it?
No. Yes, you are going to be scared. I love, who is it? Do It Scared, the Do It Scared Manifesto. What's her name? Ruthie Suko.
Ruth Suko.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Ruth Suko. And I actually have that laminated and up over my corkboard here. I promise I'm going to do things. It doesn't matter if I'm scared. I'm going to do it. So I got to remind myself a lot. But yeah, life's too short. It's too short and too tenuous for us to just quit just because we're scared.
That's exactly right. Doing it scared. That's how I got here. Is by doing it scared. That's how I became an Instagram coach and started podcasting. And I know that's how every little step that we take is important and it builds on the last. So I think also I wanted to say this, that Pat was referring to my Go Live Jumpstart Kit. It is just a mini course. You can get through it in 2 to 3 hours and it will teach you all the ins and outs of how to get up and going live on Instagram. Even if you harness the power of live, even if you're scared, you could do this. So I will put a link to that in the show notes. But I appreciate your candor, Pat, and how you've really just been honest with us about where you've been and where you're going. And it's encouraging to hear your story. And where can people find you?
Well, you can always shoot me an email at help@breakthroughhomeschooling.com. And yes, it's a very long email address. And that I'm not always timely. I'll give you that heads up because there's a lot on my plate, but I do always respond to my emails. And yeah, my blog is BreakthroughHomeschooling.com. I also have an author site at patfenner.me. And that's kind of where my hub, where I've started building because I write as well. And, started putting my podcast links there and the blog. And so it's kind of Pat Central.
I love it. I love your writing. You guys will love it too.
Well, before we go I just want to say thank you because, we've known you. I think you're like one of the first blogging people I met when I started blogging, which has been like, I don't know, a while ago. And I've always wanted to be like Ruthie when I grow up. So you really kind of my hero.
Wow.
Close in age, but still,
What a compliment. Well, I appreciate that so much. And I just appreciate your support. You've been such a supportive friend, and we've collaborated a lot. And this is something that I try to tell my readers and followers is that make sure that you're developing those peer relationships as you're going, whatever it is you're doing, blogging, writing, social media, because you never know what can come from that. And you need that support from each other, like iron sharpening iron.
Absolutely. And I have to say, too, another reason that's important is because your family, as much as they love you, if they're not blogging, if they're not walking this, whatever, they just don't always understand. And that's okay. That doesn't mean they don't love you, but sometimes you need someone who's going through this with you and to say help or, whatever you need. So it's important.
Yep. You got a friend in me.
I know it. Same here, girl.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Pat. And check out Pat at Breakthrough Homeschooling on Instagram and also her blog. And we will see you next time on Instagram Insider Hacks. So easy your mom can do it.